So I had been writing for years. I'd put on my own little plays for a day or two. I'd written loads of pilots. I'd made a short or two. I'd made some web series things. And then I'd written this half-hour comedy. And the advice I got from a friend's father was, look up who makes your favorite shows and try and get in touch with those people. So I got in touch with a producer who made a show I liked, and they read a script, and then they read that script and liked it, and then they introed me to my agent, and then that agent I was with for many years, and then from development with her I eventually started getting my first bit of work. Because I think we always think you get the agent and then the work flies in, but then it usually takes a bit more time for most people. But yeah, it was that transition. But thankfully, it was the build up before that. It was the writing for years and years and developing and finding different ways of telling stories, and then just meeting that producer, Lawrence Bowen, at the right time. And he introed me to some lovely people. Right, so yeah, usually it starts with a cool premise, like what if someone did this and then found out that. So it starts there, and it circles in my head for a while, and I'll tell friends about it. And then it's just, a notepad or a Word doc, and it's just one line beats. They wake up, they say you should never start a script with that. They wake up and then they go here, and then they find out this has happened, and then they go here, so then that. So just like a list of things, and sometimes they're a paragraph, sometimes it's one line. But that's about 60-70% done before I start, because I like to find stuff within the pages. I only truly feel I can understand the character until I get them talking and speaking through dialogue rather than just the breakdown point. So I'm always eager to get going on the pages. But yeah, it's usually just a very basic beat sheet first, which I'm kind of strict with when I do start writing, but I always allow room to just find things and go in different directions once I start writing. And that beat sheet can take a week or a day or a month or two. But as long as I'm really excited to start those pages, it's like a build up, That can vary, because if I'm doing like a half hour or 1 hour or a feature, it varies, but I'm quite strict that every day it's 5 to 10 pages a day that I write. I can do more on good days if I'm really feeling it, but 5 to 10, usually just 5. But and it's weird. It's always Monday I have to start the script, and I'll work through the weekends, but it should be shorter working days. But it's just from that Monday that I start 5 to 10 pages every day till I hit that point of 60 or 120, depending on what it is I'm writing. I don't like being in the middle of a script, so I enjoy just knowing I've got momentum. And for me, it's about momentum and just putting it all down, getting to that first draft, which will be overwritten and maybe all over the place, but just plowing through to that first draft. It becomes quite a frenzy, quite an experience, which I do enjoy, and I'm careful what I read or watch, just because I know I'll get influenced, and I speak to people about it on a daily while I'm on script, as we call it. I'm on script. Can you meet me here? No, I'm on script. So I get intense. And then once I get to that first draft, there's like a sigh of relief, because redrafting is quite fun and easy from then. You've got your characters, you've got your stories, and you can just get someone to read it, get a friend to read it, give you notes. At some point I realized I shouldn't ask people to read a script. Even though I say that now, I've kind of done that once or twice recently. But I think I realized I talked to people about it, and then every so often one person will say, I'd like to read it, a friend or colleague. And then I'm quite strict that once I finish that draft, which I think is a readable draft, I send it out to whoever it's going to, and then I take some time off from it. Even if I have nothing going on, it's just I need to get space from it. It's the space away from it that's necessary. And then it's after a week, 2 month, however, give it a read, a proper read, and take notes about what you feel instinctively at that moment while you're reading it isn't working, and what needs improving, what's not adding up. And I find a lot can be found in that read. I look forward to that read when some time has passed. And hopefully by then a friend or two has read it as well and get some feedback from them. Yeah, and then it's with those notes, I just get strict, and usually it involves moving scenes around or shortening scenes, deleting scenes, making a point hit harder, adding a bit more punch to the dialogue, things like that. But again, it's not a strict draft about specific words or spelling or dialogue. It's more about, is the story hitting? Is the story working? Is there suspense when there's meant to be suspense? Is there a hooky enough when it's supposed to be? Do we know who this character is? Is that working? That's what that draft's about. Yeah, soaps are a speeding train that you gotta like jump on board and just and be willing to be at their pace, because they are moving. They have a lot of deadlines. They have a lot of episodes, and it's a cliche, but it's a great education. You learn so much about interweaving A, B, and C and D stories with each other, and hitting deadlines. And you'd be surprised how much you can get done really quickly when there's 50 people waiting for that draft. Also entering a world that's not your own and meeting characters that aren't your own and figuring out their voices and doing that sort of research and working with an editor. For me, it's been amazing because it's helped me with my work afterwards when it comes to like how to structure a story, how to hook a story at a certain point to maintain interest, how to build momentum to an episode or a film with scene lengths, things like that. How to be specific about what type of story this is, whether it's a big entertaining one or if it's a dramatic current theme based one, or if it's a Hollywood one, looking at it from all those angles. Project in development is you've brought an idea to a company and they have optioned it. They've purchased the rights to the idea for a certain amount of time, and they'll work with you to make that idea into a fully fledged project with characters that conflict and drama and talk with you and figure out what it's about and what thematically it's about and what maybe the show is trying to say and where it sits in its genre and what the episode 1 or 2 or 3 would be, or who the protagonist and antagonist, what the twists and turns are. So it can get very detailed, just figuring out what the project is, because sometimes you can bring a show project idea to a company and it's just a premise, or a paragraph, or even just a pilot. But development is broadening it and figuring out what the whole show is without having maybe written it all, but just an understanding of what it is you want to go out and pitch to the broadcasters. Because then if you can answer all those questions, then they're more likely to like it. It's a necessary process. You have to like pull all these threads and see what's working, see what isn't, and see what's confusing. And sometimes you don't know that until you get into the development phase. Sometimes you can write a whole pilot of your own, and it's only once you get it with the right people and develop it. And it might not mean changing much, but it means an awareness of what everything is and where it sits and what style it is and what other shows are similar that you can reference while pitching. And that could be a 2-page pitch, or it could be a 5-page treatment, it could be a pilot, it could be a treatment that breaks down every episode, or it could be a visual one which has pictures, or it could be text. All depends on the project and the writer, I guess. Yeah, I've learned the hard way that the way you avoid that is by not having too many. you just don't have as much as you might think you can to like compartmentalize too many projects throughout your own mental capacity or mental real estate. You don't have that much that you can juggle. So it's about, I think, being strict. And for me, I know the number I can do. Maybe some people do more, some people can do less. Because I do like to move between things, but I've had to like lessen that number because you don't want projects hurting because some are getting more focused than the others. I think perfect world, no one should have more than really 2 or 3, but then you can develop in different stages. You can have a development which is based on meetings and discussing where it is. You can have a development with a script, which is being redrafted when you're in pages. You could be developing a treatment, and that's a different type of writing to scripts, because it's not prose, but it's not a script. It's kind of both, because you're being literate and telling the story, but you're not being too poetic, because it's still just a document detailing the beats of the story, but you want it to be engaging. So it's quite a art form, which I'm slowly getting better at. It really helped with contacts. It was amazing. Like, we had a few sessions with people, and we did this thing where it was like a speed dating. This was all on Zoom, but they put you in the room with different execs every 10-15 minutes, and some of those execs I went on to work with. Some of them I'm still in contact with now, and some I've met later and not realized we met then. So that's been amazing for that, the contact base, because that's the hard thing about writing. On top of needing to be able to write, you need to, there's the business side, there's the agent side, there's the contacts, there's the other writers, there's the execs. So on the contact side, it was brilliant, because I met so many people in the space of 2 hours. Yeah, so it would be just keep writing new projects, write new scripts. Every year, look back and ask yourself, how many scripts did you write? Aim for 1 or 2, because it's tough to write. Just get writing, because with every new script you write, you'll improve slightly and your confidence will build. And before you know it, you'll be able to come up with an idea and just write a new project. And that's important. That's an important skill, is learning how to go pro that way, and learning how you write, learning your process, learning when you write best and how long you need and how long it takes you to get into that flow state. So it's all about that first. And if you've done that, then it becomes about trying to make those contacts and contact agents directly, contact executives directly, contact people that made the shows you liked directly, try and get a dialogue going, which is tough to do if you haven't got an agent. So then look at events. There's loads of events out there for up and coming writers with people willing to meet new people. If it's interesting, if you are interested in it, make a short here or there. Don't spend a big amount of money, just try and make something, try and see your work spoken, try and get something shot, whether it's with your phone or with a friend with a camera. And I would say don't spend all your time on that one script to perfect it, because it's usually not about perfecting that one project. It's about just learning how to become a writer. That idea you have probably won't get made into a show, but that idea you have could sell you as a writer to get a job on another show, which then gets you an opportunity doing something else, which then gets you to sell another idea you had. And then maybe down the line you can pull out that script and dust it off and say, I've got this one, and that gets made. So it'd be Mad Men first, because the setting, but also the amazing writing. It's full of one-liners and quips and quotes, but it's also really touching. I also loved that era of TV we got where there was the morally ambiguous lead character who you kind of loved but hated, and agreed with the things they did and disagreed with things they did. And in turn, that makes you look at yourself in certain ways. But yeah, I just love Mad Men. It's funny and it's touching and it's engaging, and it's just a really cool time period. My next one would be Luther. Absolutely, like I said, I loved Luther. It was heightened, it was just slightly turned up a bit than our usual crime drama, and I could watch Idris all day as Luther. That was a big moment when that show dropped, because we were seeing Idris in a different light on the streets of London with really terrifying criminals, and you just never knew what to expect. So yeah, it was a combination of performance, but also the twists and turns of that show. I absolutely love Luther. Right, and my third one, and I'm saying this because I thought of this the other day while I was washing up, and I was like, God, I used to love that show. It would be a show called Scrubs, which was the hospital-based comedy, Zach Braff. absolutely loved that show. And yeah, I need a comedy on the island in it. So that one I loved because for me as well, watching at a certain time, it was so good at giving you lessons and life lessons. You know, I learned how to apologize because of that show. You know, I learned how to express emotions that I didn't know I had. And that was thanks to this witty, zany comedy. So it was a big impact on me. And yeah, I just randomly remembered that the other day, and I was like, I need to go back and watch some Scrubs. But yeah, that would be the third one I'd take. I got all deep on you for a second there, sorry.